All right, how's it going?
Good, yeah.
I'm Trevor. We're just going to talk a little bit about whatever you want to do with. If you have questions that's standing out that you want to talk about, we'll address that.
Okay.
Cool. So you are?
Ryan Gaffney.
All right, Ryan. So tell me about yourself. What do you do? Tell me a few things just off the cuff.
Point by Sean.
All right, so I like Bart. Good. What's your food? All right, so talk about a little bit more about your exercises, maybe jiu-jitsu. When you started.
I started jiu-jitsu here, and I've worked out since high school. I usually I enjoy doing strength lifting and stuff like that. I started getting into jiu-jitsu from here at the MMA club.
Okay.
Last Saturday.
Oh, awesome. So.
It was called Mario.
Okay.
It was just people my division was people okay. So my weight class had
What is you have for?
Right now I just want to get better. I'm still new at it. So as far as goals, I just want to improve, and I've enjoyed what it's done as far as like cardio and like the endurance aspect.
Okay.
The benefits I gotten from that.
What do you mean by improve?
Well, like I know there's a lot more I have to improve on as far as like technique, and I know there's a lot more things I can learn with it. And I just enjoyed getting a chance to compete again since like high school or junior high, whenever the last time I got to do any sport.
Okay. What'd you play in high school?
I didn't get to play a lot actually throughout high school, but I was on swim team for a little bit. I did baseball a lot of the time through grade school, and I did football up until like my sophomore year of high school.
Okay. What did you swim? What ball and football?
See, remember that piece. Swim, I did. I want to say it was called 50 meter, right?
Yep.
Okay. You swim?
Nope. Yep.
Alright, that works. Football, I was tight end, defensive end.
Okay.
And baseball, outfield, and first base.
Okay. So you talk about it feels good to compete again. What do you like about competition?
I mean, it's kind of like an excuse, I guess. I guess I'm the one being pointed out to. It's kind of like an excuse to, like, I guess, improve yourself, and then you get to compare how you're improving for someone else's, and then it's like a new milestone step for you. Like, I managed to get to this good. That guy somehow is better than me now that I'm better. Now I have to get better than him, which is better than I'm at right now, if that makes any sense.
So you kind of use it as a way to keep improving yourself because you start here. That guy who, when I started, was better than me. Now I can beat him, but now I have to better myself again because there's always someone above. So you kind of you ever stuff is okay. do you have actual for that?
Yeah, I usually, first list, obviously. But I was really unsure how to diet, and I think that kind of affected like my weightlifting progress. I have gotten a lot better at muscle endurance though.
Okay.
Semester of it.
So, how do you measure your goals though? So, do you set, hey, I want to reach this weight by this month, or is it? Some people do like races. Other people
I
have.
usually try to do stuff like that, but I'm like naturally really unorganized, so it always fails for me. Mine's more like a mental goal. Like I think it up and then I if it.
Okay. I don't really have a structured plan, like
should,
these
but-
goals and how to. Okay. Goal setting.
Like there's something that I know what is more important to me than others because I'll remember my weight that I did the week before, and then I'll go to some other thing and I'll completely forget like what am I supposed to start at because I think I went up last week.
Okay. Do you have like a structured periodization program, like where you're following a program, or you just kind of make it up and you
I do have like kind of a program.
Okay.
It's different I guess too than when that we were back in
Mhm.
But Mondays is usually because I was in the MMA club here. That's usually Mondays is when I go to that, so I don't do chest day then. But it's usually back and buys. Tuesday I have an easier time getting the spotters, so Tuesdays I usually do chest and tries. Wednesdays I'll do legs and shoulders, and then the last 2 days I'll try to get endurance lifts in. The first 3 days I'll usually do strength.
endurance
Like how lower the weight and I'll up the reps, and then
Okay.
the
for what back?
usually Thursday, yeah, I'll do like back. I'll try to get like the main muscle or the primary muscles
Movers,
in
yeah.
first, yeah.
Okay. So you're doing like a split routine then, kind of. What are you trying to add strength? Are you trying to add endurance, power? What?
Before we do big sales, muscles and strength.
Okay. Adding size at all? Because you were talking about.
Yeah, I felt like, 'cause like I said, I only weigh like 60 pounds, and I just hit 160 for like the first time at like last semester.
Okay.
So like, I usually am trying to like, give myself more food, especially when I'm here, because I have like a whole cafeteria.
Yeah. So you're standing. I was going to say that when you were like a senior, and I was like,
Yeah, no, I transferred, so I never really got the house thing.
gotcha. Where
Like the college?
oh, you don't say. I went to COD with my brother. And you were there 2 years, 5 years. Okay. Cool. So, what are you hoping to get out of this session?
Sorry.
Extra credit.
I'm not really sure, honestly. I wasn't 100% sure what the interview was going to be about. I mean, like, you would ask me helps, what I'm doing health like and things like that, but I wasn't really sure, like, what else would come out of it.
So it's pretty. I'm not gonna say it's kind of broad because there's so many directions we could go, and it really depends on what you think will help you the most. So I have a background in nutrition, strength and conditioning, and sports psych, so I kind of have a little bit of everything. But this is more an assignment for that like sport or exercise psychology. So looking at maybe motivation, goal setting, different stress management techniques. That's kind of what this course is about, and kind of what the interviews have been in the past. If you want to geek out and talk about strength lifting, I'm down for that too. But that's kind of more the direction it's kind of going.
Okay. So wait. I'm sorry, Nick, go repeat yourself.
No, you're all good.
That first part,
Which part?
you summed that up before you said the definite.
Yeah, so this class is basically looking at like sport and exercise psychology, helping people overcome like their obstacles, or helping them
Okay.
develop strategies, plans.
There's one thing I actually was kind of starting to try to look into to help me with. Like I said, I just got into this, and I'm hoping to join like a gym over the summer.
Okay.
One problem I have is that like if I do like I'm worried that if I do this many days of jiu-jitsu because that's more of a cardio thing, it's harder to make. I'm worried it'll be harder to make like strength gains.
Okay.
Is there any like way to balance that out?
Yeah. So in training, there's this, and basically, you get the best results if you vary your goals. So you don't work out while you're doing max strength, while you're doing power. Like you choose one thing and that's your focus. So for someone who's doing jiu-jitsu, if it's not competition season, you can still work strength and get a lot of technique work in because it's still kind of new to you and you don't have to be really focused. As you start going into competition though, you want to get the activities and your goals kind of synced up. Okay, if that makes sense. And so you'll tailor your program, and there are tons of programs online you can find, and I'll help you out with that, to what your specific goal is. So let's say you plan on competing in 3 months. Okay, month 1, fighters is usually 3 to 4, depending on what they're looking at. So month 1, just basic, try to pack on a lot of conditioning. So basic endurance stuff, a little bit of strength stuff. Month 2, we'll try to get your strength up there, so relative strength. Make it as sport specific as possible. Then as we're getting towards month 3 and 4, you're going to increase maybe your practice time, working on your jiu-jitsu. Maybe you add sparring in with your technique work. Your training will also be a lot more intense. There won't be as much volume, but it'll be as sport specific as possible. Right into your competition. You compete, then we start over again. So it's a training cycle. That's just a really basic understanding of how that would work. And so you just need to align your goals. That's kind of where the organizational, and that's why when you said, oh, I'm not super organized, that was kind of like a red flag for me. It's like, okay, to get the best results, you kind of have to have that plan. And if you're not great at it, find someone who can help you develop it would be what I recommend.
Really staying on a specific schedule. My biggest thing, I guess, is recording any progress with certain things.
It sounds like you're not having trouble making it to your list, not having trouble even remembering what you should be doing, but kind of like the big strategy. Like, all right, today you need to take it easy. Tomorrow we're going to hit this harder, and how to manipulate like the little details. So rest goals and the weights you want to use to get these goals. Having that down pat will help you a lot as an athlete. And that's where the big picture, like goal setting, really comes into play. Because if we know your end goal is to do as best as you can in your performance, we can set small goals to help you reach that big goal. Okay, so it's breaking down your overall, because you talked about if you really want to achieve something like that, it's not hard to remember. It has things. And I kind of compare that to like having like a mantra or an end picture of what you want.
I got really close to that with end goal too at one point, and then kind of like some stuff ended up happening like it came up.
Injuries or what? Just life stuff.
Well, like first I got sick,
okay.
So I had to take a week off. And normally that's fine for me, but like my goal for like this whole year has been that I wanted to get 6 reps at 225. And
okay.
at one point this semester on bench, and like I got close. I was like I think 3.5 reps. And then that next week I got sick.
Okay.
Then I had to take a week off. Normally that's fine for me, but the next week for some reason it just kind of dropped. Then I came with the tournament, and then I ended up having to cut.
Yeah. So, how do you determine what weight to use and how many reps to do with weight? You had the weight down and you did 3 reps. Yeah, so usually the way it works is it's like 1 to 6, you're looking at like strength, maximum power. 6 to 12 is kind of like hypertrophy, adding size. And then anything greater than 12 is going to be in building muscular endurance, and you won't get the same strength gains or the same size. Okay. For athletes, some athletes or individuals in general will respond to different levels. So maybe you just, for whatever reason, doing 2s gets you so cold. Okay, that it's really individualized. So if you keep track of it, we can see over time. So if we looked at a training cycle, hey, when you were doing 6 to 8 reps, that's when you had your best strength gains. So for you, programming there, when you want to improve strength, that's going to be hitting the nail on the head. That's kind of the importance of having long-term like logs, because then you can kind of see, okay, these 2 months were great training. What was I doing differently that I'm not doing now? Or what can I go back to? Or what can I change to make it fit? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it depends. So you went in and you set the weight at 225 and you just tried to lift it as many times as possible?
I would do 2 sets. My normal routine for bench was 2 sets of 5 or 6 reps at 185, then 2 sets of 5 or 6 reps at 205, and then after the 5th set, I would just try and put up to 225.
Okay.
As many as I could get.
Okay. So that's not bad. I'm just thinking about it in terms of training plans. It's important, and what I've seen is have variation within the training. So if you always just train in the like 4 to 8 rep range, so a lot of 6s, you limit your ability to get results, because at the 12 you might add some muscle mass. Well, adding muscle mass is going to help you lift more, and that's going to contribute to your strength. So like I was talking about with that cycle, at the beginning of the cycle you have higher rep ranges, so like 8 to 12, maybe a little bit more if you want to add endurance, but mostly like higher up reps. That will help you build muscle mass. Then you lower that, and you're targeting your ability to use that muscle now. So that's what building strength is. Strength is
like doing a pyramid lift,
not within the lift itself,
Okay.
over the course of your training program.
or? Okay. So.
Yeah, no, and that's a great question, because that's the exact concept we're talking about. We're just not looking in a day, we're looking over whatever period you want to talk about. So if it's 3 months, 6 months, a year, that's the concept I'm talking about. So it fits perfectly well. So you start maybe 2 or 3 weeks, you're doing 10 to 12. Then the next 2 to 3, 10 to 8. And then the next, and you work your way down until you're in the range you want. That would have, for you, I think you would respond really well to that and kind of train it. So it could be one of those things where right off the bat you just get that could help. And having kind of, I think for you, having someone or a pre-existing program, whether it's jiu-jitsu or just straight MMA, like there are a lot of really good starter programs, and just following a program would be interesting to see how you do it. The other thing, and you talked about forgetting like your journal. Do you bring your phone to the gym? Alright, so there are like 50 free apps, which if you're forgetful, I haven't met someone yet who forgets their phone when they go to the gym. It doesn't happen. Yeah, so it's one of those things where if you know that's the problem, that's really that would help you be able to track your numbers. And then the cool thing with now is you can then put it into like a spreadsheet or Excel or create a graph. A lot of the you can see, okay, my strength peaked here. What was I doing there in my training that helped it? Oh, hey, I was using long, or I switched up my exercise selection. So instead of just doing the big 3, I did a weird variation. Okay, you can kind of see the big picture instead of just getting lost in the workouts.
Okay.
I think for you, that would be something I would try and see if it makes a difference. What else? What's coming to your head? What?
As far as like, if there is ever another week where I have to cut, how does that usually end up impacting like, because I actually haven't tried lifting that since. Originally, like last week, I was trying to cut the water weight to like lift weight, and I tried working out the first 2 days, and it wasn't too bad, but the bicep was still sore, and I had worked back in my Monday.
strength gains, if we're looking at strength, there's endurance and then technique. Strength stays almost as well as technique. Like you can go 2 weeks probably without noticing like a big drop in your strength. It might go like immediately after, like it might dip down just because you're dehydrated or you don't have enough like carbs in your system to use as fuel. Something like that could impact it, but your strength, if we got you back to normal, would stay the same. Okay, so what your body stays pretty similar for about 2 weeks is kind of what the research shows. Endurance, you can start losing in about a week. So if you go a whole week off, you can start losing that aerobic conditioning.
And I did see, I kept running throughout that week.
Yeah, and that usually pairs really well with cutting, adding in more aerobic training. So that's something that makes sense, and a lot of people don't lose that. Strength-wise, you can do a couple lifts, which are just light, get 3-4 exercises for a couple sets each. You're not trying to add a lot of strength. You're not working yourself to the bone. You're not working to failure. You're just trying to maintain. So give your body a stimulus, that will help you keep that mass so that when you start cutting, it doesn't hurt the muscle system or hurt your muscle mass.
Okay.
What about like diet-wise? How did you switch that up? Like, what did you cut out? Do you have a structured program?
What I did was like I just went to low carbs. I had to lose like the water weight. So that Friday I weighed myself and I was 165. Then the Friday I went in for the weigh-in, and granted it was a 4-hour drive the whole day I didn't eat, but I was 156. That Monday through Wednesday, I would run with like basketball shorts, a t-shirt, and then sweatpants and a hoodie. And I went for like maybe 2 miles. Breakfast I just had an omelet because I did the math. I think that was like about 8 or 10 carbs. And I checked the nutrition things.
How much weight did you try to lose? How much weight did you? Yeah. Okay. And that's just the risk area, and so if you're not like you haven't had a lot of like coaching or experience in it, just be careful with whose information you're taking, because some people will go crazy and that can really have don't want to go overboard with it, because following nutrition things you do, that's one of the areas where we see a lot of problems with athletes
I tried doing as much research with it as I could. So like the first 3 days, I'd also drink like a gallon of water because I think the best way to get rid of water weight is try and do that. And then like closer to the day of the weigh and cut the amount of water in half.
Yeah.
So I know the internet isn't always the most like valid place, but
yeah. Who are there any particular individuals who you read or who you follow in like the training space?
Like online?
Yeah.
I'll like check a couple forums and stuff. They don't really do a lot of advice things anymore, and I feel lame for even like admitting that like take a look at the stuff. But the Hodgkins, you've heard of them? They used to do a lot more nutritional stuff. Now it's not really that anymore.
Okay.
But them, and then a lot of times there's bodybuilding.com. I'll look at some of the message board posts.
focus on the issues. What do you think, if I could help you with one thing today, what would that thing be? No, you just did, so there goes your extra credit.
There you go.
Nah, I'm kidding. We'll bleep it out.
I guess hide my expression.
Okay.
That's not a super generic answer.
It's a little generic, but maybe it's a generic one. What about other areas of your life? So, school-wise, you said you're a psych student.
Yeah.
How do you keep track of all your assignments? How do you stay on top of what you have to go into? Okay. So, you put in every assignment you have, or you...
I usually do that, and then that's all I do that by me. So I do the assignment, and just do
Okay. So, how far out? So, if you have... You write a lot of papers in psych, right?
Yeah.
So, if you have a 10-page paper due, how far out do you start that paper? Okay. So, the way you're structured and, or the way is that you kind of wait until there's kind of that pressure, and then you do the assignment. Do you think you perform better under that pressure? Is that why you say that? Have you ever tried, like you have an app for it, so what's the most organized you've tried to? Putting in the assignments. So what not assignments to setting the reminders? Okay. Gotcha. So it's kind of your motivation. From there, you tried to find ways to help that motivation keep growing or not. Think of it as like a flame. You tried to keep the rain off. Just really lame analogies right here. Okay. So now we're talking about your training, about your nutrition, about your performance prep for college. If nothing changes, why? Like, obviously you're here for the extra credit, and so that's kind of impacts it a little bit. But what's changed motivation-wise for you?
Like for competing or
for competing and then like training or nutrition or...
I don't know, I feel like the big difference between the two is like school. I guess one thing that can help me is I finally picked a major and I liked my major and I'm interested in learning it. So I mean, like I still had like motivational problems, but like it was a lot easier to get through. Like I had an end goal. Like the competition thing, I was always really motivated and it was almost always in my head because I spun for me. Like I enjoyed that, and when I finally started getting into this, it was just like a good time. And I felt like I got to meet a lot of cool people, and I got to feel like this is like a good like confidence booster.
Yeah.
And it's like something to kind of think of besides just school.
Okay.
I really had like a motivation issue with it. It was like always on my head that I needed to get better for it. And if anything, actually motivated me to work out more than I already was. Even though I already felt like I was already working out like a lot, but now instead of just be like I want to get stronger. So like I would work out 5 days a week before the week. Now it was like, well I need to get stronger before this. And like I still kind of went the same amount of time, but like it wasn't. There was a lot less days where I felt like I had to push myself through.
Yeah.
really
But you have that drive. Hey, I'm training this to get better at competing, and I want to compete, and that's what I enjoy. So this feeds right into that. So it's
Like,
already important.
Everyone has like race days and they're like working out where they just go on and just like helping out like, and I never had like a super lot amount of those in race days, but it helped me out that much stuff.
Okay. So to me, what it sounds like you're talking about like intrinsic motivation. I'm assuming psych background. You're familiar with that. So you kind of have that intrinsic motivation to succeed. Now the next step though is creating a process to help you succeed, and that's for you I think is going to be the next step in helping your performance get to the next level, because you kind of seem type B to me, like you're just kind of laid back, like, it's a 10-page paper due tomorrow, you know, it'll get done eventually. So for you it's not, that's not internalized, that's not a system you've been exposed to, maybe that's not.
As far as like those, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
When I do actually get started on stuff, like it's not so much getting the thing done. When I started, it's really easy for me to go all the way. And that's why I think the last day thing works out for me sometimes, is because like I have to start it. But like if I had started 3 days ago, because sometimes I've managed to push myself to actually go and start an assignment, like, I'll push straight through the assignment. So it's like once I start working on something, I have no problem working on it. It's just like thought of actually getting up now and having to start.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that.
So like once I begin it, and then suddenly I'm motivated and it's over.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like if I start something, I just want it to be done when I stop that activity. So great example was I had a draft due for, I think it was my thesis. It was like a 20-page lit review. I wrote that the night before, like just stayed up, I don't know, 8 to 10 hours, like just going through it and writing it. And I was just like, oh yeah, done. Like all my friends were like, dude, when did you start this? I was like, last night. And they were like, how is that possible? I was like, it's not, I don't know how else to explain it other than I just did it.
Yeah.
And I just want, like, I don't want to like work on it for like 30 minutes and then stop and then work out. Like I just want, like when I'm going, like I can't be stopped.
Yeah.
Like it feeds into itself. I feel like for me it seems inefficient to have these big breaks in between it, because then I have to reread everything I wrote, or have to read the research articles that I'm writing about. Like if I can just read them once, write about all of them, then it's done. I don't have to worry about